Well, ANC Deputy President Paul Mashatile is at a Workers' Day commemoration event held at Elka Stadium in Rockville, Soweto. Workers are reportedly chanting and shouting behind the barricade that police are manning. This as they lamented the continuous retrenchments in the mining sector. SABC News reporter Kenny Mapanga is at the event. Kenny, thank you so much for your time. I remember last year, the Deputy President was, of course, met by a rowdy crowd when he was trying to, give his address during the Workers' Day celebrations in Pretoria. I mean, how has he then been received this time around?
Well, good afternoon to you, Nati, and to the viewers at home. As you've correctly stated, the event is still underway behind me here as COSATU does their May Day rally here in Gauteng, and they're accompanied by the ANC Deputy President Paul Mashatile. Now, really what this event is about is to celebrate Workers' Day, and it comes at a critical time as we reflect on 30 years of democracy and look at how far we've come in the protection of workers, right from that dark past, that apartheid past, where workers were exploited, to what we have now. However, with the challenges that workers continue to experience in the democratic dispensation, that was laid bare here at the Elka Stadium in Rockville of Soweto. So earlier this morning, they did have a bit of a delay in the program starting. And once COSATU tried to start this program, there was a group of mine workers, quite a sizable group, Unati, that wanted to lay their grievances before the ANC Deputy President, before the program could get underway. Now, what we understand from those workers is that for the past 3 years, they allege that year in and year out, they've been subjected to those Section 189 retrenchments with the ANC and its alliance partners, that is the Communist Party and COSATU, remaining mum on these retrenchments, and a number of these workers losing their jobs and losing their livelihoods. So they're stating that as this event takes place today, and it takes place as we celebrate 30 years of democracy and ahead of the 29 May polls, they're questioning why the ANC and its alliance partners are silent, why mine workers are losing their livelihoods here in the current democratic dispensation. So what you saw was the original chanting, which started from the front of the stage all the way to the rear, which then elevated the level of security that we saw at this venue. We saw then more police officers arriving and the Nyala at the back of the venue arriving. Once they had finished with that protest where they chanted back and forth, it disrupted the proceedings and we could not proceed with the program as there was chanting, singing, a lot of disruptions which interrupted the speeches that wanted to take place. Now, when the ANC Deputy President attempted to give his keynote address, he started off quite smoothly. However, halfway into the address, the sound and the technical issues went off, meaning that there was no mic, there was no sound, there were no lights, and the entire stage had been blacked out. What we later found out is that those cables in front of the stage had been cut in order to stop the ANC Deputy President from continuing with that speech. I think it was a brief break of about 15 to 20 minutes while they were correcting that issue, and the Deputy President then proceeded with that speech saying that protests are all right, but they're not going to allow this level of what he termed as thuggery to disrupt the work of the COSATU as well as the ANC and its alliance. Now, if I step out of fame, earlier this morning, the workers were quite restless. There was activity throughout the venue, which stopped that program from proceeding. But as you can see now, following that incident, and the ANC Deputy President seemingly unbothered by this rejection by the small group of workers that wanted their grievances to be heard, the program has now continued, and it appears that workers are now seemingly listening and continuing with that program as it takes place. Now, as you can see behind me, the ANC Deputy President Paul Mashatile is still on stage. He's flanked by some ANC officials, including that Provincial Secretary, Mr. TK Ngiza, and we expect that when this program is complete, he'll be able to reflect on seemingly what was perceived to be a rejection by the workers towards the ANC and its alliance partners, in a view where they see this governing party in rejecting their needs as workers and the protection of their rights. Those were mine workers earlier today in our team, just giving out their grievances and making sure that they were heard, whether that meant that the Deputy President, the ANC Deputy President rather, couldn't complete his speech. That's what had to take place earlier today in order for their grievances to be heard. But as I've stated, it seems now workers are not as restless as they were before, and the program is now getting underway. But we'll have more details from the ANC Deputy President when he has completed his task on the stage behind me. Over to you, studio.